Week 8 of the NFL season has arrived. We're damn near halfway through already, and we're in the final week of October, believe it or not. Let's get into the matches. Nobody's on a bye this go around, so lots of action to look forward to. Here's a breakdown, preview, and my predictions for every single game. Starting with the Thursday night slot, the Minnesota Vikings, coming off a loss to the Detroit Lions on a short week, are playing the LA Rams. I'm interested to see how the Vikings bounce back from some adversity after a tough loss to Detroit, but at the same time, the Rams are a little interesting because they could be getting a bit healthier. Cooper Kupp has been practicing more, so there is a possibility that he ends up playing in this game, and obviously that could make a major difference on how this Rams offense looks. If he plays and he looks like his normal self, maybe the Rams make this a good match. However, I believe that the Vikings are going to go out there and win this game somewhat convincingly. It's a short week after playing a really tough game that could leave them a little bit fatigued, but the Rams face a big problem this year. It seems like, especially with them not being healthy, that they can't do well against these offenses that are efficient and generate a lot of points, and the Vikings have mostly been in that department. They've done a good job of scoring each week, and I'm a bit nervous the Rams will eventually fall behind. Maybe this game ends up close at first, but between the Vikings being healthier with their weapons, and their defense more likely to generate stops, I think you gotta go with the Vikings in a pretty easy win here. Now for the Sunday 1 p.m. slot, starting with the Philadelphia Eagles, who are traveling to Cincy to play the Bengals. Honestly, this feels like a 50-50. I don't love where either team stands right now. The Eagles, yes, just had a great bounce back week, but they also played the Giants, so I don't know how much stock you can put into that, but they're playing a Bengals team who, yes, are starting to win more games, but also have not looked fantastic in the process. What's interesting is they've played the same opponents the last 2 weeks in the Giants and the Browns, so we've seen kind of where their preparation is at right now and what the execution is looking like. I'd say they're very similar in how those games went, maybe like an ugly one than a more pretty one, so to speak. But generally, I think I prefer the Eagles by a slight margin. I'm not confident in this pick at all, but how I see it is the Eagles have looked like a significantly better team when they're winning, or at least controlling the turnover battle. Over like the first 4 to 5 weeks, they were losing it pretty badly, so we saw some very ugly contests. But since then, the football that we've seen from them has looked a lot cleaner. And it's very likely that could continue against a Bengals defense that is just one of the worst in the league. I get it, they played well against the Giants and the Browns, but that's who you should be dominating because those offenses are so terrible. The Eagles are obviously a major step above that, and I'm worried the Bengals won't be able to keep pace. They haven't looked all that great against the run this year, so the Eagles could very easily control the tempo and get the W here. It still could be close. You definitely can't count out the Bengals because of that offense, but I prefer Philly to win this game, as I think there's more advantages that go their way, so I think this game swings to them, and they get a close dub. To follow up, you've got an AFC North battle between the Ravens and the Browns. The Browns are going to have a different look and feel for them, as Deshaun Watson went down with that season-ending injury last week. So now they come in, maybe their offense looks a bit more fresh, hopefully Jameis is the starting quarterback, and maybe this game ends up being closer than it looks like as advertised. The Ravens are on an absolute roll right now, and that Browns defense is one that you can never underestimate. So we could see this game go in like a surprising way where the Browns keep it really close, like uncomfortably close, just because they're going to have some new energy with a different quarterback out there. But in the end, you probably just have to stick with the Ravens. They've been extremely hot as of late. They're overdue for another one of those games where they just choke for no reason whatsoever. But I think they can handle their business against Cleveland. I mean, the points have been aplenty for these guys, and I believe that Browns defense won't be able to hold up forever, even if Jameis is able to move the ball downfield. They don't exactly have the weapons that they used to, especially with Amari gone. So I don't trust the Browns to score enough to win this game. And then you've got the Tennessee Titans playing the Lions. I mean, yeah, Detroit win this one by a million, obviously. Tennessee's one of the worst teams in the league, and Detroit right now look like they're on a mission. Their offense the last 3 weeks has been absolutely insane. Jared Goff has been throwing some absolute bombs. I mean, it's a thing of beauty to watch him play. There's no way in hell the Titans can keep up with how that Detroit offense is playing right now. I'll admit, they look a bit more energized with Mason Rudolph out there. They played well for like one half against Buffalo, which is at least some kind of sign of improvement, but they don't stand a chance in hell against Detroit. This is going to be a blowout, no doubt about it. Then you have maybe the most intriguing 1 p.m. game of all, where the Arizona Cardinals take on the Miami Dolphins. Tua is set to make his return after suffering that concussion against Buffalo. He's finally back. The Dolphins desperately need him to turn around their season. This is a key matchup for them. It is must win. And it's going to be tough. This Cardinals team has been scrappy all year long, albeit inconsistent, and they're coming off a big win over the Chargers where their defense surprisingly held strong. That's exactly what they need against a Dolphins team that's looking to generate some explosive plays after having none of them for like the last, 4 or 5 weeks. This is huge for them. On one hand, the Cardinals, I think, are overdue for a big offensive performance, but at the same time, they're inconsistent. But on the side of Miami, they're also overdue for a big offensive game after having none since Tua got hurt, but Tua has not played in a very long time and he may look rusty out there. And that Cards defense, if you put any stock into their performance last week, you might be feeling confident in them to force those turnovers out of Tua as he tries to get a feel for things again. Really, really tough game here, but I am going to go with the Dolphins. I believe in the feel-good story of Tua coming back, kind of rallying the troops together and having a big offensive performance, even though it's been a long time since he's thrown the ball on the field and everything. How I see it is this Dolphins team has just been begging for someone to throw a ball accurately, and they have it now. They're going to come out energized. Tyreek and Waddle, they're so overdue for some big games, and this is the time to make it happen. That Cardinals defense is suspect. I still don't trust them all that much just because they beat the Chargers. The Chargers offense is kind of wacky, and they depend on the run a lot, while the Dolphins are pass heavy. I believe the Cardinals are going to fall behind, and maybe the inconsistencies that we've seen throughout this season get the best of them yet again, so I'll be picking Miami. And then you have the Jets playing the Pats again. I can't believe their season series is already finished and we're only in week 8, but this is an interesting one compared to the last time. The Patriots have a new QB starting, and the Jets have looked terrible since that game. I mean, holy moly. They cannot buy a win to save their lives. The offense looks extremely sluggish. Rodgers looks like a shell of his former self, and I don't know if it even matters if they have Devontae now. This could be a rough game that the Patriots take advantage of, where the Jets are kind of figuring things out, where they're trying to regain their confidence and not let this season completely explode up in their faces. But I still think I'm going to go out and pick the Jets. Maybe I regret this in the end, but there is a major discrepancy in talent here. This Pats team is not ready for prime time still. That is obvious. They just went into London and got destroyed by the Jags offense, which isn't even that good. Their coach just called them soft, and I don't trust them to win a big game like this. The Jets are terrible, but they can take advantage of the bad teams at the very least. Maybe Devontae has a better day as well. It maybe will be a bit closer than last time, but I'll stick with the Jets to win this game. I'm not going to trust them to beat the bigger opponents until further notice, but the Pats are one of the worst in the league, so you should be able to win this game. Keyword should. And then the Falcons play the Bucaneers yet again. Their season series is about to finish, and coming into this week, I was like, yes, the Falcons are going to lose this time for sure. The NFC South is so unpredictable. Surely the Bucs get theirs this time. But then we saw what happened last night on Monday night, where both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin went down. That is a major turn of events. Godwin's season's probably done. Mike Evans, even if he does come back this upcoming week, won't be at 100%. This will be a rough matchup for the Buccaneers. Overnight, Baker just lost his 2 big weapons that have made the offense look like what it has so far this year. And he lost Chris in such a meaningless moment too. Sucks to be a Bucs fan right now. And they're playing a Falcons team that is simply a lot more healthy. And at the end of the day, the best ability is availability. If the Bucs were healthy, I would have picked them to win this game, but without 2 key weapons, I'm worried about how they adjust. So you got to go with the Falcons here. The more healthy, more explosive offense that can generate more of those plays is going to win this game. And then Green Bay is taking on the Jaguars. Hey, shout out to the Jags for having another big offensive performance. Now they're coming home, feeling good, trying to build up some momentum. but I don't give them much of a chance against Green Bay, unfortunately. The Packers look unbelievably good right now. That matchup against the Texans was a statement win. They won it in the clutch, game-winning field goal, but also their defense looks so good. Despite how close the matchup was, CJ Stroud didn't even throw for 100 yards in that game. This Pack defense is much improved compared to last year. They're forcing turnovers, they're getting to the quarterback, and for a bad team like Jacksonville, that spells disaster to me. I don't know how they keep pace with a defense that is so good and with an offense that can generate explosive plays with so many different weapons. This Packers team is healthy, they're on a mission, they feel like one of the best teams in the league, so you gotta roll with the Packers. Onward to an AFC South battle, the Colts and Texans play again, the Week 1 rematch that actually ended up being a pretty good game. Can this be the same? I'm not so sure, as the Texans, yes, just lost a tough one to the Packers, have still looked pretty good overall this season, and they're playing a Colts team that has been so weirdly up and down. Anthony Richardson did not look good in that win last week. It was as ugly as it could get. It should not have been that close against a banged up Miami team. It is pathetic that it had to go this way. That guy is not throwing the ball accurately. There's so much inconsistency going on, and it seems like they are rolling with him as the starter. Obviously, he's supposed to be their franchise quarterback, so of course they're going to start him over Joe Flacco, but I don't know if that's going to generate a lot of wins against big opponents like the Houston Texans. Maybe Richardson balls out, as we do see him have those big games every once in a while, but I don't like where he's at right now. He is going through some major struggles in his sophomore season, and the Texans are just a way more consistent team. They're angry after losing that game to the Pack, and they're not going to let this one slip up. They take it. And then as we head into the 4 p.m. games, the Chargers are playing the New Orleans Saints. Not going to lie, I'm not happy with the Chargers after losing to the Cardinals the way they did. That game was so winnable. It's not like the Cards put up a ridiculous number of points, but the Chargers are just not finding the end zone. The offense has not looked good. I don't know what the problem is, but they have a hard time generating those explosive plays. They don't have any of those big bang receivers who are running down the field vertically and getting those huge plays. They rely on those small chunk plays with the run game and just passing to the sticks where they need to get the first down. It's not a winning formula, and I'm worried about how that translates to the rest of this season and if they can compete for a playoff spot. But luckily for them, they should be getting a break here against the Saints. With Spencer Rattler at quarterback and with how good their defense has generally looked, they should be able to generate turnovers and enough opportunities to win this game. But moving forward against better teams, I would be very worried if I was a Chargers fan. The next game is one I'm pretty interested to watch. The Buffalo Bills taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle absolutely stunned me last week. I could not believe what I saw in that Atlanta game. They dropped the bomb. They shut me right up after me saying that they stood no chance against the relevant teams and that they were taking advantage of their cupcake schedule. Good quality win for this team. Big bounce back game. Geno and the offense are flying, and the defensive line seems to be getting healthier, and that's big going into a matchup with Buffalo. Josh Allen has had some major ups and downs this season, and against the tough pass rushes, we've seen teams take advantage of him, and we could see another scenario like that play out in this one for sure. Seattle's got some momentum going. But Buffalo, I think, can only get better from here now that they have Amari Cooper. I mean, the guy scored a touchdown while not even knowing what route he was supposed to be running on the play. Realistically, this Buffalo offense is going to get more and more explosive as the weeks go on. And even though Seattle did get that quality win over Atlanta, I don't know if I trust them to do that consistently just yet, knowing the rest of their history this season. They could be another one of those teams that wins some and loses some. I don't trust their O-line all that much, and I think Buffalo are going to get after them, and that's usually when Geno struggles against heavy pressure like that. So I think Buffalo win a close game here, just because their offense, their team, a bit more consistent for my liking. And then we have, oh Lord help us, the Panthers versus the Broncos. This game could be terrible in so many different ways. The Broncos are overdue for like an absolutely horrendous game, and we might see the Panthers just win like 30-0 for no reason whatsoever. Honestly, now that I think about it, I don't think this game's going to be close. One of these teams is going to win 30-0. It's up to you to decide which one it will be. But I think I'm going to stick with the Broncos to win this matchup. I mean, their defense is so good. It's been lights out this year, and clearly that high of Andy Dalton being the QB for Carolina has more than worn off at this point. We just saw him play terribly against the Commanders defense of all teams. So against the Broncos, this should be a murder. Maybe the Broncos offense doesn't look as sharp as it did against New Orleans, but they will have opportunities aplenty. Andy Dalton likes to sling the ball. He's going to turn the ball over, and the Broncos have been relatively safe with their possessions, so they should be able to win a clean-ish game. Might be kind of on the boring side, but that's just their brand of football, and I expect them to win. And then you have the Chiefs versus the Vegas Raiders, and we got to go with the Chiefs here, obviously. The Raiders look like a mess right now. They couldn't even beat the Rams. I mean, it was somewhat competitive, which is, I suppose, a good sign compared to some of the previous performances we've seen recently. But now they're playing one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league. I don't know how the Raiders will have any kind of answer. Aiden O'Connell is injured now, so it's back to Gardner Minshew or, God forbid, Desmond Ridder. That is not a winning formula in the slightest, and I believe the Chiefs are going to cook them. Pat Mahomes hasn't looked that great this season, but if there was ever a time for him to have a big game, it's probably against Vegas. He's down some weapons as well, but he's still got old reliable in Travis Kelce. Kareem Hunt has been running the ball well, and Xavier Worthy's overdue for another one of those big games where he just takes the top off of the defense and goes for like 100 yards. I see it happening here for sure. This Raiders team looks unmotivated and like they're not ready to play against anyone. That offense is a mess, and slowly but surely they fall behind the Chiefs one way or another. Then in the final 4 p.m. slot, the Commanders are playing the Bears. Man, it is a shame that Jaden Daniels got hurt and he's questionable for this upcoming game. We could have saw the number 1 versus the number 2 pick for a rivalry that could last for ages. I was really excited about this game, but now I'm not so sure. If Marcus Mariota ends up being the starting quarterback, you'd have to believe the Bears will win this one. I know Marcus did great against the Panthers, but the Bears defense is pretty nasty, and they're fresh coming off a bye week as well. So the outcome of this one really depends for me. If Jaden Daniels can prove to be healthy, I'd be confident in his guys to win this matchup, as the Bears have mostly only beaten the bad teams on their schedule and everything. But if he's either not totally healthy and they force him to play, or they go with Marcus Mariota, I'm going with the Bears. I know it kind of sucks to put an asterisk on this game, but that's generally how I feel. The Bears feel like they're in better shape if Jaden is either not 100% or not playing at all. Their defense should be able to lead the way one way or another. I think the Commanders are overdue for some struggles on offense, and we see it happen here. So Chicago, you get this W so long as Jaden is not healthy. Speaking of health, in the Sunday night matchup, the Dallas Cowboys are playing the San Francisco 49ers, or should I refer to them as the San Francisco hospital patients, because their entire team is exploding with injuries, and it got even worse after their matchup with Kansas City. Brandon Ayuk is done. Deebo Samuel, currently no timetable for his return. He's got fluid in his lungs. I think someone said he had like pneumonia or something. I don't remember, but he probably will either be a scratch for this game or not fully himself. George Kittle is day-to-day right now with an injury, so even if he plays on Sunday, probably not 100%. You don't have Christian McCaffrey either. It's a disaster. Think about it like this. The Niners' most healthy weapon right now is a guy who got shot in the chest 2 months ago. That is absolutely ridiculous. The Cowboys are not a good football team, and if the Niners were any semblance of healthy, they would win that game easily. But considering that they're down so many weapons and it's unlikely they're going to generate a lot of explosive plays, the Cowboys, I think, come out on top here. They're just a way healthier football team. Even if they haven't looked that great on either side of the ball this year, their defense should be able to get some stops with the Niners being in the position they're in, and eventually the Cowboys offense will break through. I feel like they'll be begging for the Niners to take this game away from them, but they'll just hold on just because of that health alone. And to finish off on Monday night, the New York Giants play the Steelers. Steelers country, let's ride, baby. Russell Wilson, of all people, goes in on Sunday night and has a pretty good game. Wasn't perfect, but sure as hell looked a lot better than anything I saw from him on the Broncos, that's for sure. And now he has a chance to never look back as this team starter after getting another chance and looking so rejuvenated because he's playing the terrible Giants. This team can't score for the lives of them. Daniel Jones, this one man, is holding back this franchise from having any kind of semblance of success, any kind of semblance of a deep ball. There's no way in hell they can beat this Steelers team. Daniel Jones has looked significantly better on the road this year, but without Andrew Thomas, that O-line is falling apart. We saw it happen against the Eagles, and against that Steelers defense, man, it's going to be a nightmare. There's going to be turnovers. He's going to be sacked by TJ Watt all night long. The Giants have no chance in hell of winning this game, and that pisses me off because as a Giants fan, I am so sick and tired of watching this guy be my quarterback. He is so freaking bad, man. The Steelers won't even have to do much in this game. They'll win in a blowout, no doubt about it, because number 8 is the quarterback of the other team. And that's going to do it for my Week 8 predictions. Let me know what you think down in the comments below and who you think is going to win this games this week and even what your best bets are. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more weekly NFL content.